Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the King of Average podcast with your boy BB
and Malik.
Heck yeah. Here we are. We almost skipped recording this week, but we made it happen. You know why?
Why?
Because we're disciplined.
Oh, it's funny that you talk about that.
Sick transition, dude. So the topic we actually want to talk about today is discipline, the big D. Discipline. Discipline is definitely something that is important in the lives of everybody. I don't think it's even even like a topic to be discussed just in the sense of like, oh, you want to develop as a person. No, you need discipline if you want to be a student. You need discipline if you want to be an employee. You need discipline if you want to be a son, a father,
Spouse.
a mother, a daughter, a spouse. Absolutely, you need discipline in all aspects of life, right? So yes, as it does relate to personal growth and personal development and just improving yourself as a person, mastering discipline is important just in order that you can just improve your everyday life, even if you want to take life on the chill side. So discipline's an interesting thing to talk about, and we opened up this discussion the other day in the car because we were talking about, hey, what does it take to make a man? And I remember in the car, it was funny, we were talking about it, and you challenged me. You said, well, that's kind of a, I guess, point per view for every individual. So what do you think it takes to be a man? And you put me on the spot, I'll be honest, but I had to think quick because this is obviously a conversation that I've had with myself a few times now, right? We're at that age where we're interested in getting married, we're interested in finding a spouse, and part of that growing up experience, you have to realize, okay, who am I as a person? What am I looking for in a person? So I was like, okay, who am I as a person? What am I looking for in a person? But what is the other person expecting from me as a spouse? And I off the top of my head, I was like, okay, you know what? There's five main things. There's five main things that I would categorize that a person needs to make them into a man. We're not going to go over all five. That's a little bit of a teaser. You're going to have to watch the next one and the one after that and the next one after that. But one of the ones that we're going to talk about today is definitely discipline. I don't really care to put it in a priority, say it's the number one, quality to have, but it's definitely an important thing to talk about in the realm of, hey, how can I become a better man? What does it take to become a man? And obviously, I guess in the realm of women, this doesn't matter. No, I'm just kidding. In the realm of women, obviously discipline is very important as well. But as it relates to us, building good discipline is something that's going to make me better as a man. And let me go ahead and start off by admitting this is definitely one of my weakest qualities.
It's a lot of people's. Yeah. I'd say that like what many of our reasons for us not being disciplined probably has to be that we lead with we basically listen to how we feel. And that typically means that like you could be tired. Oh, then I have an excuse. You could be hungry. You could be whatever it is. And then that would be your justification for you not doing what you need to do. Whether it's work, whether it's working out, whether it's whatever it is, you get in your head. You don't have much of a system that's in play. And then you let basically your inner thoughts or your emotions control your outcomes of your life. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And it's funny because you bringing that up, I just thinking about this whole idea about like, trying to ignore how you feel and whatnot. It's something I relate to on a daily basis, and it really made me think of this quote that I remember sending to you, and you were like, "Wow, that's deep." And the quote is simply, "You'll never have regret after completing something good, but you'll always feel regret after having not completed it."
Yep.
Think of it, a perfect example, and we always like to bring up the example of the gym or the example of sports or whatever. But the example of the gym really sits well with me personally because there's so many days where you go through work, you're exhausted physically. You go through work, you go through life, and you're exhausted mentally. And you tell yourself, all right, it's 6 p.m., it's 7 p.m., whatever. I gotta go get a gym session in. And then you start telling yourself, oh man, but I'm mentally fatigued, I'm physically exhausted. And then you go back to, the excuses of, oh, the gym right now, it's the busiest time of the day. I'm not going to get a single machine. I'm going to have to wait forever. There's going to be no parking. And you sit there and you go through all of those, but you're really the highlight is what? You're just not feeling it.
You just don't want to do it.
You would rather do absolutely anything than go to the gym right now. And that's genuinely how you feel. genuinely. Like you can put it on a piece of paper. And I end up in a situation where I force myself to go through those doors, check in, and whatever the workout is for that day, just get my reps in, right? Just get my reps in, get it done. Next thing you know, 2 workouts, 3 exercises, 6 exercises later. Next thing you know, you finished a full back day and you walk out of the gym. And I want you to have that conversation with yourself. I want you to ask yourself simply, do I regret that? Or do I feel flipping phenomenal right now? And 100% of the time, 10 out of 10 times, after you've completed something that you either need to get done or something that's genuinely just positive or productive, you will walk out of completing it being way more proud of yourself, being way more happy with yourself. And you'll just be like, that was amazing. But every time you sit there and you decide, I'm going to skip the gym, I'm going to skip leg day, you know what, I'll go to the DMV tomorrow. All of a sudden, the end of the day will come and you're just full of regrets.
Yep.
And you're full of regrets. And the thing is, sometimes maybe you'll procrastinate something that you need to get done. And eventually, when you get it done, you'll even tell yourself, I should have got this done earlier.
Isn't it the worst feeling when you look back at your day and you're like, I've done nothing productive? And I know we all hold ourselves to different standards, but you look back at yourself, you look back at exactly what you did today, and maybe you decided to completely procrastinate everything. Maybe you decided to not even do anything. You look back and you're like, what a waste of a day. And I feel like for me personally, it's such a horrible feeling in order to have that done because you feel like you've just cheated yourself. Now, going back to what you said, the more that you start doing stuff, and maybe at the beginning you have to force yourself to do it until it eventually becomes a habit, until eventually you start kind of breaking in. You basically start breaking yourself into like your mental toughness. Once you start forming that, then eventually when you start feeling tired, when you start feeling hungry, when you start feeling all these other emotions, depressed or happy or sad or this, whatever it is, you have nothing to hold you back from actually doing what you need to do. And everyone knows what they need to do. It could be going to the DMV. It could be just getting groceries. It could be making so many phone calls a day for work. It could be clocking in. It could be whatever it is. But the discipline is so freaking important because you start forcing yourself to, for the whole gym example, the second you go, you're like, thank God I went through this workout because that gives you momentum. That momentum is going to push you forward towards doing other stuff and then other things and then other things, almost like a snowball effect, to where you start basically bringing in positivity in your life. You start moving different. You start becoming actually very happy with yourself. And then eventually, wow, it's so freaking magical. You're not feeling so depressed. You're not feeling so worthless in your life. You're not feeling like you're not doing as much because you can look back and you're like, for the past couple of days, or maybe even today, I've done this, I've done that, and after that, I've done that, after that. You're like, dude, today was such a productive day. How can you feel sad? Like seriously, even if actual things are going wrong in your life, you wouldn't really feel that bad. I feel like with all that productivity, with all that momentum that you've got, even when a negative thought enters your mind, you don't let that hold you back because that rush of dopamine of actually completing something is such a good feeling that as humans, if you like, it's basically like candy. You love a piece of candy. You eat it. You're like, oh my God, I can't wait. I want to have another one. That dopamine is the same exact thing. You want to go over and over and over. You would keep on getting it. So if that rush of dopamine can come from productivity, oh man, that's going to be a great feeling.
No, I love that connection you made between just building momentum on being productive and completing necessary tasks to the idea of building mental toughness, because soon enough, and it's funny, we always talk about the old uncles in our community who have successful businesses and whatnot. Talking to them, you literally learn that exact point, right? Where they pretty much show you how to, in a sense, have that, just think to yourself, nobody cares about how you feel. What you need to get done is what you need to get done. And eventually it's like you'll be stressed about something, you'll be scared about something, you're not in the mood to do something, and then come to find out just because you hung on to the discipline to getting it done, results were produced. And because those results were produced, it builds your confidence over time. So now next time you approach a similar situation, you tell yourself, you start going through the same feelings, right? Those feelings never go away. But you start going through the same roller coaster. What if it fails? I'm not in the mood. People are going to judge me. Blah, 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 blah. You start going through all of these feelings. But now, because of your previous experience, you now can sit there and go, it's going to work out. So you build that mental toughness to break through those feelings, to literally not give a crap about how you feel, and to just strive on and push through.
Another thing too is that when you have the next time you have that thought that you're too tired and then you actually eventually do something, the next time you go into it and you start feeling tired, you're going to be like, no, 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 I was tired before and I still did it. So you start having that discipline towards still doing it, even if you're sick, you're tired, or it doesn't matter on how you feel. At the end of the day, your feelings are going to be put aside. Your feelings should not be a main reason why you don't do something, or even why you do something, because we all know one day you're happy, shoot, 1 second you're happy, the other second you're this, the other second you're that, throughout the day, the emotional roller coaster, we go through a lot, right? So for us to have to lead our lives or have our emotions dictate exactly how our day is, whether it's productive or not, is gonna be a very negative outcome at the end of the day, because you're gonna feel happy, you're gonna feel motivated, but then that next second something might pop up mentally, and then now you don't feel like you're in the mood. Where was all of that, like that highness that you were at, the whole hoorah, like I'm gonna do this? Because you led your whole day, you led your whole life based on emotions, based on feelings. And one of the things too is, you mentioned it, it's very sad, but a lot of people kind of fall victim of this, is the whole thing of, I wonder what people are going to think of me. What are people going to say? This whole thing of, we fear judgment from who? Family? What are you really doing that's so shameful? Let's be honest, right? You're doing a business. It's ethical. Everything is legit. What are you going to say? You're going to fail? Okay. That's a natural thought to have. Thank you for that opinion, right? But okay, girls that you follow on Instagram, right? Because you're like, oh, I don't want to post this because it might affect the image and how I look on this platform, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, etc., etc. At the end of the day, you'll be surprised, because maybe the next day, maybe even after they view your story or liked your post or whatever it is, or maybe didn't, they will probably forget about it. And no one's really talking about. I feel like if people talk about you, for the most part, that's something good, because you're actually interesting. You're doing something that caught someone's attention.
There's no such thing as bad press.
There's no such thing as bad press. So when you're not doing absolutely nothing, they're going to talk about you regardless. But shoot, I'd rather be like, yo, Mustafa's doing all this. Mustafa's doing that. He's hustling. He's killing it. As opposed to, you know what? Malik has just been chilling at the house all day. Whenever I'd say, hey, how's your day going? This guy's doing absolutely nothing. Now, let's be honest. If you really care about what people think, would you rather, one thing or the other? Would you rather them be like, yo, this guy's out here crushing it? This guy's going to fail because he's too ambitious? Or this guy's a failure because he doesn't have any ambition whatsoever? I'd rather choose the first option.
Yeah, it's funny, we were talking about it just before we started, but it was this whole idea, because, what's funny is, there's certain people in your life where, like, either you open up to them to a degree, or you just let some things, casually slide by. And there's been a few days where I've had those days where it's like I've done absolutely nothing today. I feel super unproductive. And like, let's say, for example, I'll text that to someone. I'll text that to a friend. And they'll be like, their response is always something along the lines of, yeah, well, you need those days every once in a while. And it cracks me up, because this experience used to happen to me when I used to work as a personal trainer at the gym. And as trainers, we would always sometimes just hide away in the break room as a way to both, avoid responsibility, avoid the world, clear our head, or just use it as a break room for, like, break and lunch and whatever. But there'd be so many times I would go to the break room and I would just walk in, close the door behind me. I would take this deep breath and I would just be like, man, today is just not my day. Because that's how I feel, right? Today is just not my day. I'm not getting leads. I'm not booking appointments. I'm not selling sessions. Like, today is just not my day. And then I would literally sit there and I would start laughing. I'd be like, holy smokes, dude. Didn't you just say that yesterday? Didn't you just say that the day before? Mm-hmm. Aren't you probably going to say that tomorrow? And there would be just those moments where I'd snap out of it. I'd be like, no, get back out there and hustle, dude. Get back out there. So many situations in life where, yes, if you let your emotions lead, you're going to end up nowhere. You're going to end up chasing your own tail all day long, right? So you have to put yourself in those moments where you know you need to get something done, and tell yourself, nobody cares about how you feel. because that's the reality. It's the harsh reality, you know? It's the harsh reality. If you were to open up and you would tell anybody about genuinely how you feel, they might give you a few moments of sympathy, but are they going to pay your rent at the end of the month?
Yeah.
They might give you, words of encouragement, but are they going to put food on your table, right? Nobody's going to do the work for you. Absolutely nobody.
So that actually leads me to a quote that I stumbled upon, and it basically goes like, "We are more dependent on vision than any other sense. It should come no surprise, or as no surprise, that visual cues are the greatest catalysts of our behavior. For this reason, a small change in what you see can lead to a big shift in what you do."
I love that. I love that a lot. Go ahead, expand on it if you want.
So, small little increments of change in your life can move mountains without you really knowing. You go into that break room, you're in that mood. To be stressed, to feel depressed, to feel like you're not doing good, or that's normal. If anything, that's maybe your body, or that's your mind checking you, saying that you're not doing enough. You got to do more. And if you end up doing it, it's a small shift. But then eventually, you're gonna start building up that discipline to start doing more leads, calls, clients, this, that, whatever it is. Eventually, it's gonna lead on to a big change, because it's almost like a compound effect. You know what a compound effect is, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's basically where like things just keep on building up. They build up. They keep on compounding together. So you make one little small move in your life, in your, not even to be as dramatic, one little small little change in your attitude, and then that could be the biggest shift that you need to do for long-term success.
So I want to challenge you here and give me an example of, because the idea here is that we are vision dependent, and something based off of a visual is supposed to be that catalyst for behavior change.
Mm-hmm.
Give me an example.
I think when it comes down to the fact that like we all have to have some sort of vision, right? I remember being in the sales position, and I remember going through like the whole mood of not being good, blah blah blah. I'm not in the mood. I'm tired. This, that, all these other excuses that I forced and I kind of shoved down my, I sold it to myself. But then I had a vision. I was like, yo, look, I want to at least sell something in the next month. I had it. I was like, I don't care how I'm feeling. I have to sell something. And I envisioned, like, because it was very ego driven for me, to be honest. Because at the end of the day, there's like a leaderboard, and it tells you who sold for that day. I wanted to, I put in myself and as a goal that I had to get that email with my name on it. I eventually started making more phone calls, started entering more offices. I started really, really exerting all my effort into this. And guess what? It's not rocket science. I eventually sold my first device just because of I had that vision that I wanted to do something. Eventually, I started forming a plot on how I'm able to attain that.
So you're telling me that like when like I guess like the top salesman of the company, at the end of every month or whatever, there'd be an email blast.
Yes.
That shows them off, basically gassing them up.
There's actually every day.
Oh wow!
Every day, the fact that like
every flipping day,
when anyone throughout the whole nation,
that'd piss me off.
It's not even like my team.
Some guy named Eric in North Carolina really's got to chill, bro.
Seriously,
he's grinding my gears now.
That's what it is.
So that's funny because that's actually a prime example of the idea of like a small change in what you see, right? It's a visual cue. Every single day you're getting this email blast that doesn't have your name on it. So it's leading to a behavioral change, right? And it kind of connects to the idea of how, depending on your environment, what visual cues you're surrounded by. We're gonna get into like we'll talk about like the people you're surrounded by and whatever. But even the visual cues that you're surrounded by, it will be a catalyst for behavioral change, right? Let's talk about extreme examples, right? If your high school buddies who you still hang out with 10 years later live in a halfway home, right? And they're all, doped up on something, right? And they literally live in this crack house where everybody is just an absolute loser lowlife. Those visual cues will affect your behavior and will cause you to develop a discipline for what's wrong. But if you put yourself in a situation where you are surrounded by Let's say, for example, you volunteer for a business, right? You volunteer for a clinic, let's say. That's a more common situation. You're an intern at a law firm. Those visual cues of seeing people in suits every day, those visual cues of seeing people who are just, their work ethic is insane, their focus is elite. Those visual cues will allow you to a change in your own behavior where you start to develop a very similar discipline. And then we talk about your environment in general, right? About how, besides the visual cues, there's a lot more that goes into it. Because when you surround yourself with certain people, it will develop you into a certain person. You've heard this 1,000 times. But we love to repeat the cliche because sometimes hearing it from a different voice will make a difference. They say you're the sum of the 5 people you hang out with. That scares me sometimes. That scares me. Because it constantly makes me put myself on check with the idea of, all right, who are my friends really? Who are my friends really? And I've told you this before, not to gas up our homie group and stuff like that, but it's always a nice feeling when my parents will be like, oh, who you hanging out with? I'll be like, oh, I'm with Kamid, I'm with Malik, I'm with Joad, and they're like, I'm comfortable. Go have fun, you do your thing. My heart is happy. You know what I mean? And it always gasses me up as well when it's like you meet someone, you introduce them to the homies, all of a sudden our homie group are his new friends. Your brother, my brother, whatever the case is. It's like the people who normally would be outside of our social circle, all of a sudden they want to be inside our social circle because it. And like I said, not to gas myself up too much, but like it hopefully is a show of our quality as human beings, right?
Of our value.
Of our value, absolutely. And the thing is we still need a lot of work. We still need a lot of work. But when you want to develop certain disciplines, the easiest way they're going to come is by the people you surround yourself with in your environment. And it's actually a perfect example to explain that is what's the easiest way to learn a language?
To be in an environment, whether you like be in the country
be in the country that speaks that language.
Yeah.
How many years did you take French?
3.
4. I took 4 years of French. This dude took a German class. I took a Spanish class. Bro, forget it. We might know a few things here and there, but there's no way we can make casual conversation because of the fact that we're not in that environment to absolutely have the discipline to learn that language.
Mm-hmm.
So other disciplines you want to develop in life, it's going to be exactly the same thing.
Yep.
Surround yourself with the right amount of people, the right type of people rather, who are going to indirectly teach you that discipline. And that's why I was pitching the whole idea to you a couple weeks ago, where I was like, dude, you know what? While we're still single, let's have a couple of like-minded bros and let's all rent a space together. Because when you wake up at 5 a.m., I'm going to ask myself, why is he up at 5 and not me? When I go to the gym 6 times a week, you're going to ask yourself, why is he going to the gym and not me? You know what I mean? We just need to create this environment where it's this friendly competition for the sake of just improving each other's behavior, for the sake of improving each other's discipline. Let's create that environment of growth. And funny enough, even when you are surrounded in an environment like that, even if let's say, for example, you are surrounded by the elites of the world, I'm sorry. It doesn't matter what your situation is. It doesn't matter how much sympathy you search for. It doesn't matter what your feelings are. It doesn't matter what the case is. Even if you're surrounded by the richest people in the world, what are they going to do for you? What are they going to do for you? All you're going to get out of those environments that you put yourself in, all you're going to get out of it is the tools and the keys to developing that discipline, to developing success. But do you think any single one of them, once again, you think anybody's going to pay your bills for you at the end of the month? You think any of them are going to clothe you? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. If you're going to put yourself in those environments of growth, it is still your responsibility to realize who's going to do it for you.
Yep.
It's got to be you.
And I like how you said that, like, you use the whole friendly competition. And I think I love that, because if you're around friends who are just constantly crushing life, they're doing really, really well in a business, when they're making moves, eventually you start reflecting on yourself, and you're like, I gotta step things up. Next time my friend asks me how's my day, or what's new with me, I'd be like, I'm so glad that you asked.
Yeah, I want to be gassed when I'm saying it.
I've done this. I've done a whole bunch of stuff. Then, in turn, your friend's gonna look at himself or herself, and they're like, oh shoot, I gotta do better now. Not the fact
That's funny. I didn't even think about it that way, but I love that.
but not meaning that you're jealous of the person, right? This is all love and respect, but you have that internal fire, that internal drive in you that you want to do basically almost outdo the other person, and then that person is going to outdo, and it just keeps on going over and over again. But being in that environment is so crucial because if you're in an environment of people who constantly complain about life, who constantly are down, how's your day? I don't know, man. I've just been so tired, and person's been having the same conversation for the last week. Yo, what do you do today? No, I've just been chilling at the house, just absolutely nothing. Just I don't know, I'm just catching a vibe. Okay, I'm not gonna outdo that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to do worse than that. I want to do way better. And it almost gets to the point where like you don't want to talk about like when your turn comes to be like, yo, man, like, how's your day going? You almost want to hold back about how your day was actually going.
You feel guilty.
Because you start feeling guilty.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna be like, yo, my boy's down right now, or whoever you're talking
but
to.
I'm up.
But you, dude, I'm so happy, man. My day is way better than yours.
That's funny.
But at the end of the day, you brought it up. Who's gonna do it for you? Who's gonna drive you to start doing better in your life? People are gonna try to like push you, or gonna try to advise you, whether it's parents or really close friends. But at the end of the day, they're not going to actually do it for you. Going to the gym, they're not going to work out for your personal gain. Taking a test, they can be forcing you all they want. But at the end of the day, it's only you and that piece of paper. It's not your parents. It's not your friends. It's you. So you need to take full-on accountability on doing what you need to do in order for you to achieve your goals in this life.
100%. I like it. Let's take it away from there, man. Oh, that felt good. So let's have a bit of a closeout, I guess. Let's talk about what are the biggest takeaways of today's conversation, and how could one develop better discipline?
What I took away from this was the visual cues. You need to envision something. You need to see what's wrong in order for you to work on it. If you view a problem, at least now you know that there's a problem. Being completely ignorant of something, that's scary. How to form discipline, I feel like that's all up to you. There's no other way to say it, but you literally just need to do it. You need to force yourself. You don't like your environment, find a better environment. You don't like where you are in your life right now, how much you're getting paid. As ignorant as it's going to sound, but find something better. Get paid more. These are all excuses to literally everything that you say to yourself, how you're living life right now, your situation is all the actions that you've taken throughout your life. Those are all the actions. These are the repercussions, whether it's positive or negative, to where you are today. So if you're feeling bad about yourself, do better.
Absolutely. I wanted to connect it full circle back to the idea that we opened up with. What makes a man, right? The reality is having discipline is one of the qualities that makes a man, because I remember you mentioned it in the car when we were talking about this. The man really does have the ability to control the emotions of the family, right? And if your family sees you as someone who isn't disciplined, wakes up around noon, lays in bed for an hour, doesn't do anything, doesn't cook, doesn't clean, doesn't go to work, that's definitely not a man, right? Having the discipline to get up even when you don't want to. Having the discipline to where in those moments where you tell yourself, and this applies to everyone, having those moments where you tell yourself, just 5 more minutes. Or you wake up and you're like, ugh, I should get something done, but TikTok, right?
I got a notification on Instagram.
Right? This person texted me. Oh my God, what am I gonna wear today? Who should I hang out with today? In those moments where you find anything in the world for you not to get up, that's the moment when you have to just rush to your feet and get done what you need to get done. Why is discipline one of the qualities that makes a man? Because without discipline, nothing is achieved. Bro, I've been having some mic drop bangers at the end of these episodes, bro. I flipping love it, dude.
Let's go, baby.
And my boy Matt gasses me up, too.
Let's go.
Heck yeah. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been, episode?
7.
No, 8, bro.
It's episode 8?
Yeah, 7 was with Adam. 8 we recorded after. We're on episode 9, my G.
Let's go, man.
This has been episode 9 of the King of Average podcast with your boy
Medic
and your boy BB. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's go develop some discipline, baby. Peace.
Peace.